Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. What a pleasure is it to see that with all these threats of funny and the inclement weather notwithstanding, even at the end of the long days program on the 21st century realities and learning, creating more polymaths, this place is completely full, and I know why this is so full. You have all come to see and hear from two outstanding personalities whom the Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry will be very proud to honor in a little while from now for the immense contribution they have done to the community that you and I belong to. And of course, to hear one of the most outstanding authors and men of words, men of literature in contemporary India. The subject of the day-long deliberations between various scholars has been how to create more polymaths in an age of focus, in an age of specialization, how to create amongst them people with various kinds of learning, people with all kinds of capabilities, and all at a certain level of excellence. We lament that children of today, who are kind of inspired by technology because we live in a world of technology, we spend too much time on this and we have forgotten to read, because we read books through the cell phone, and we spend time on the cell phone. So where is the time and occasion to read, to go to libraries and make polymaths out of ourselves? But books will always remain books. Book fairs will keep on being organized and more people will come. Bookshops will continue to be there, because the man sitting in front of me had written, book readers are very special people, and they will always turn to books as the ultimate pleasure. Those who do not read are the unfortunate ones. There's nothing wrong with them, but then they're missing out on one of life's compensations and rewards. A great book is a friend that never lets you down. You can return to it again and again, and the joy first derived from it will still be there. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, let us hear it for the brilliant Ruskin Bond. And of course, before them, we shall honor Dr. Sudha Kaul, Vice Chairperson of the Indian Institute of Cerebral Palsy, and by now, the almost legendary name, at least in this beautiful city of Kolkata, as someone who have made several scores of men and women who would have never seen the light outside the prison walls, Srimati Alakhananda Roy, a very eminent dancer. At the outset, may I invite Mr. Indrajit Sen, the President of the Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Managing Director, International Combustion India Limited, to come up here and say a few words, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. In our times, ladies and gentlemen, we know of two bonds. One fictional and cinematic, wielding a license to kill, and the other one, a living legend making magic through words and letting loose an unending supply of happiness, which is far more powerful and deterrent for the world today. This gentleman once said, I quote, "And when all the wars are over, a butterfly will still be beautiful." And yet he continues, happiness is an exclusive as a butterfly, and you must never pursue it. If you stay very still, it may come and settle on your hand, but only briefly. Savor the moment, for they will not come in your way very often. Sir, these are beautiful words. On the occasion of our annual education conclave, the Bengal Chamber, India's oldest institute of its kind, at 186 years, is privileged to welcome the one and only Mr. Ruskin Bond. We are honored, sir, to have you with us today. It is a tradition for us to hear from the icons of our time about their perspective on the chosen walks of life, and also to have the opportunity to honor such legends at this forum. In this context, ladies and gentlemen, we also are immensely proud and privileged to be able to extend our deepest gratitude not only to Mr. Bond for being with us today, but also Dr. Sudha Kaul and Srimati Olakananda Rai for their unparalleled contribution to education, society, and to souls, which, with a little bit of nurturing, blossom into brilliant minds with unparalleled creativity. Thanks to our honored guests this evening, we are all looking forward to a magical couple of years. Thank you so much.
Mr. Indrajit Sen, President BCCI, thanks very much for your warm words and introducing this evening session. To take us further through the felicitation ceremony, I welcome on stage Dr. Subarno Bose, Chairperson, Education Committee of the Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Shottam Roy Chaudhary, Co-Chairperson of the Education Committee, and Mr. Simranpreet Singh, Vice Chairperson of the Education Committee. Gentlemen, can we have you up here on stage, please? She is an eminent actress, dancer, a trained Odissi dancer, a choreographer par excellence, and a social worker. There are social workers and social workers. In a way, we are all social workers, we are all social animals. But here is a person, when I said a couple of lines when I was here in the previous before our President Sir spoke to you, that she has been an inspiration to many like her who are trying to get people serving even death sentences, maybe life, not death sentences, beg your pardon, maybe life sentences, within the four walls of prison. A chance to show to the world outside that they have the capabilities to prove to the world that they are also abled, maybe differently abled. They can recite, they can dance, they can sing, they can paint, they can write. And many of them have come out of those four prison walls and have been part of the mainstream society. And many others like her are trying to do similar work, but undoubtedly Olokananda Roy, our favorite Munnidhi, is definitely the torchbearer of doing that. She has performed in over 1,000 times in major shows. She has performed all over the country, toured extensively, all over the United Kingdom, Europe, USA, and Japan, Singapore, and other countries. For years, as I said, she has been using the arts, especially traditional dance and music, to change the lives of the inmates of the Presidency Correctional Home, the historic Presidency Correctional Home here in Kolkata. Ladies and gentlemen, we are immensely proud to have with us Srimati Olokananda Roy, and we shall honor her for her outstanding contribution in alternative education. May we have the video, please? So, ladies and gentlemen, Olokananda Roy. And to do the honors, we have the three stalwarts of the Education Committee here, Dr. Subarna Bose, Shishottam Roy Chaudhary, and Simranpreet Singh. We are proud to honor Olokananda Roy with the Lifetime Achievement Award for her immense contribution to alternate education. So the invaluable award, the memento, and some goodies for Olokananda Roy. Munnidhi, a couple of words from you.
Thank you so much. When I was told that it's going to be an honor for my contribution to education, I was absolutely thrilled for the reason that even dance is considered education by very few. It is always academics, academics, academics. But that even dance can transform lives. It can reform people who people think cannot be reformed. It has been through dance, and I think I can call myself a dance educationist from today. I keep saying that no child is born a criminal or an offender. Things happen for various reasons. Maybe we have not faced those situations. That is why we are here today. But, I mean, each one of my boys and girls is a story. Their life and why they do, why they did what they did is something that we will never understand if we are not a part of their life. I became a mother to them. They all call me Ma, and I've got this nickname as Jail Jononi. I'm the jail mother. When I went to the US, now they call me Mama Roy there, the jail inmates. So I have a huge family. And, you know, education is not just books and degrees. Knowledge and education is far, far deeper. And I have realized that over time, unknowingly, that how dance has been a part of my life. And it is dance that has given me all that I have received today. I was an okay student. I hated maths. And I was always pulled up by my maths teacher. And she would always ask me, that, do you think you're going to dance through your life? Is that all that you're going to do? Because if you're not good in studies, then you can take up dance. That's how it was as a career option. I couldn't say anything. Those days, even if you stood first, you had to put your head down, at least in our school. And then when I met her a few years back, I went and touched her feet. She gave me a big hug, and she says, Aloknanda, I'm so proud of you. I said, Miss, at least I've made you proud for something, but I have to remind you something. Didn't you always ask me and pulled me up by asking that, are you going to dance through your life? That's exactly what I've done. I've just danced through my life. And I think it is the most effective tool that I could use to change the mindset of hardened criminals who have committed more than 23 murders, people who are waiting to be executed. They are the ones who think differently. And it has all happened through dance. It's called a dance therapy, but actually I call it the love therapy. If you can love, they have taught me to love unconditionally. I love you. You may not love me, but I'll still love you. They have taught me to be non-judgmental. I don't judge anybody anymore. As I said, I don't even have an exam in my dance school. I don't even judge dance competitions anymore. And the third thing is they have taught me to forgive. I think they have literally purified me, people who are known as criminals. Thank you, my boys and girls. This honor is equally yours. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we come to our other special guest this season, this session. You remember Martin Luther King's famous 4 words, I have a dream. She had a dream too. Her soul used to cry. She had a dream that someday all individuals with challenges will be seen as human beings. She had a dream that someday the human and civil rights of individuals with challenges but special abilities will be honored and treated as equals. She had a dream that someday all parents who have children with challenges will see their child as a blessing and not as a burden. She had this dream that someday there will be more jobs and opportunities for individuals with challenges, but at times with abilities much, much more than the others in the community. She had a dream that someday, there will be unity within the community of people with special abilities and special challenges. She still dreams that the word disability, challenged, is wiped out from the face of society. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us Dr. Sudha Kaul, Vice Chairperson of the Indian Institute of Cerebral Palsy. She is the founder, trustee, and Vice Chairperson of the Indian Institute of Cerebral Palsy. Dr. Kaul set up the first school, then known as the West Bengal Spastics Society, on Taratala Road in Kolkata. The WBSS was founded in April 1974, 45 years ago, to provide services for children with cerebral palsy. This organization has grown from a small school to a major training institute in India. Moreover, it has been a catalyst, having initiated services for cerebral palsy in no less than 20 major cities in India and in each of the districts of West Bengal. We are honored to bestow the Lifetime Achievement Award on Dr. Sudha Kaul. May we welcome you, Dr. Sudha Kaul, up on stage today. Ladies and gentlemen, Padma Shri Dr. Sudha Kaul, being bestowed the Lifetime Achievement Award for making such a difference in the lives of our brethren with special abilities and with inborn challenges. Dr. Kaul, we would wish to hear from you. Yeah, please.
Thank you so much for honoring me. This honor I really share with Dr. Sen and my colleagues at the Indian Institute and the children who are the inspiration for what we've done over the last 45 years. I'll just take a few words. Being a teacher, I will start with 3 letters of the alphabet ABC. As Alokananda said, she's so happy that dance is considered to be part of education. I'm equally proud and happy that children with special needs are also considered to be part of the education world and the education stream. And just a little while ago, we were sitting and chatting and talking about requesting the chamber that the next time you have this education seminar, we would be so pleased if you could invite students from our institute to participate in this seminar. Before I finish, I'd just like to talk about three letters, as I said, ABC. The letters ABC stand for attitude, for belief and commitment. And if all of us as people who belong to society remember these three letters, they're not difficult letters to remember, but if you remember what they stand for, and if we have the right attitude and the belief and the commitment to be part of the world that can make a difference, then society can really and truly change. Thank you so much again for giving me this honor. Thank you.
Congratulations, Dr. Sudha Kaul, Olokananda Roy. We feel proud and honored that you have been able to make it here and be conferred the Lifetime Achievement Award. The more and more I speak about the great Ruskin Bond, I will be at a loss of words. So this is not the time and occasion. All of you have read of him, have read him a number of times. So for me to stand here and formally introduce him to you will be like carrying coal to Newcastle. So we shall go into honoring Mr. Ruskin Bond with the Hall of Fame Award. This is the Education Committee Hall of Fame of the historic Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry. May we welcome President Sir Indrajit Sen to kindly come up here. And Mr. Ruskin Bond, we welcome him up on stage for the first time. So, ladies and gentlemen, Padma Bhushan Ruskin Bond. Being honored by Indrajit Sen, President BCCI, the Chairperson of the Education Committee, Shubharna Bose, Shottam Roy Chaudhary, Co-Chairperson, and Simranpreet Singh, Vice Chairperson of the committee. Incidentally, for the knowledge of Mr. Ruskin Bond and two of our guests, these individuals you see here are amongst the foremost private educationalists in this part of the country. They run innumerable educational institutions, technical, managerial, schools, polytechnics, academies, computer institutions, and people passing out from their institutions are placed across the world. So, Shottam Roy Chaudhary, founder, managing director of the Techno India Group and the first chancellor of the Sister Nivedita University, Suborno Bose, the founder and the chief mentor of the Indian Institute of IIHM, and of course, young Simranpreet Singh, who along with his father Taranjit Singh is the founder of the JIS group of institutions. We shall hear from, do we hear from Mr. Ruskin Bond, or we go straight into the Adda? Shukonna? Do we hear from sir, or we go into the Adda together? We go into. Huh? Okay. You would. It's open to you. It's all yours. The evening is a Ruskin Bond evening. Now, we shall have a tete-a-tete and a question-answer session. And who else could do it as well as my college buddy, one of the most famous voices in the country today, and undoubtedly the most famous, the most warm, at least on the radio in Kolkata, none other than Jimmy Tangri. So welcome, Jimmy. Rarely you and I are on stage together.
Thank you so much for those warm words. Really appreciate it.
So that's Jimmy Tangri with his beautiful voice. It's over to Jimmy and Ruskin Bond to take the evening forward.
What a wonderful audience, and I'm really, really honored sitting. Really honored sitting beside none other than Mr. Bond. And when I say that name, trust me, he's truly Bond, in all senses. Sir, today we are just coming to the end of this beautiful education conference. There was a lot of heart-to-heart conversation. And talking about education, I've always been curious. When we go back, way back to your school days, how did it all start? What are the 4 things were top priority for you in school? It must have begun somewhere or another. Like when I was in school, I was very naughty. Trust me. I still remember when I went to my first preschool. The principal is sitting here just now. I used to take cockroaches and small little insects and shake hands with the teacher and just plonk it in the hand, And whenever the teachers used to see me coming, they used to all be tense and nervous, wondering what this guy is going to be up next. But of course, we're not going to be talking about the pranks. We're going to be talking about the 4 beautiful things you take away, all your memories from those beautiful school days of yours.
Well, so many memories, and I can see you were a very mischievous student who was a great trial to his teachers at school. So were most of us, come to think of it. But there was a certain amount of discouragement in the fact that back in my school days, which go back to the 1950s, long before yours, we used to get caned or flogged. And those were the great days, the good old days of corporal punishment. So it was to a certain extent a deterrent, although the boy who probably received the most floggings was the school hero. But I remember when I was about 12 years old and in junior school, the first time I created a problem or havoc in the classroom, and I was sent off to the headmaster's study with another boy or two for, it was usually 3 strokes of the cane. But the seniors in our class told us, look, Bond, it won't hurt so much if you stuff a couple of books down the back of your trousers. And which is what we did, the 3 of us, and marched into the headmaster's office where he immediately said, well, now bend over and I got one hard whack and leapt up in some agony. But he said, I think you've got something there. Out with it. So very reluctantly, I pulled out As You Like It by William Shakespeare, which was my first introduction to Shakespeare, by the way. And he said, well, you're going to like the next stroke I give you. Went over again, so another whack. And he said, you've got another book there in your trousers. So out I pulled Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde this time. And he gave me a real hiding after that. So that was my introduction to English literature in a way. Though it didn't actually set me off on a writing career. But it's one of the more vivid memories of school life. But on a more serious note, there were one or two teachers who did encourage me with my reading and writing. And in fact, there were one or two. There was a Mr. Jones, an elderly man who was the only teacher who stood out against corporal punishment and criticized it and refused to beat a boy, as a result of which he lost his own promotion and couldn't become a headmaster. So sometimes doing the best thing for everybody can make you very unpopular. But nevertheless, it was a good school, and we had a good library, and I spent a lot of time in it. And I'm grateful to it in many ways.
Sir, so we got to know the secret of how you got into books.
Sorry?
We got to know the secret of how you got into literature, as you said.
Yes, it's a form of commerce and industry, actually, writing. And although I've never been any kind of a financial expert, I've been pretty industrious all my life and made a living out of writing. So I think, although I think I'm here under false pretenses, because alongside me, you have been honoring great people who've done something for society. And I can't think of having done anything particularly useful, except to give pleasure to a few readers.
Sir, when you say you haven't done anything useful, trust me, you're the icon to a lot of children. They love you. And why I'm going to say that, before I get on to my next question, I remember I was at the Kolkata Literary Festival, and there were all these young children waiting eagerly in the line to meet you. And there were a group of them. And all of them were totally admiring you, sir. All of them found you really cute. And honestly, there were about 6 of them who were discussing this truly as Santa Claus, and we truly love him. You know, that's the kind of love the children emulate about you, sir. So, very curious, what was that first spark, the spark which got you to start writing? I'm sure there's something which must have struck, and you said, now it's time, I need to pen it down. So what was that first spark which got you into writing?
I'm not quite sure, but I think if you look at the lives of many writers who have become well-known or famous or successful, you'll find their childhood was, in some ways, important. And some had lonely childhoods or maybe difficult childhoods. And I did suffer the loss of a father when I was very young, and had to adapt then to a different family altogether. But so I think the period of loneliness and exclusion that I experienced maybe at that age of 10, I turned in a way to books, because there wasn't much else you could turn to in those days. We didn't have, as you say, all the technological escapes. So in a way, that's what a lonely childhood can somehow set you off and turn me inwards. So I used to read a lot, write a lot. And it was only as I perhaps became 15 or 16 and started making friends in school that I became maybe less of an introvert. So I think maybe it was the lonely childhood that set me off. Also, and turning to books, naturally, I wanted to write like those who'd become well-known writers, and to emulate them, and not write in the same way, but to be a writer too. And that became, in a way, my sole ambition. The only other thing I could do well was play football. And here I am at 85, still writing stories. Playing football isn't that easy. I can kick a ball, but I'm not going to run after it by any means. So I think I made the right choice in the end.
You made an amazing choice, trust me. Iconic to a lot of children. I think your books are setting a lot of dreams into realities. A lot of children are also wanting to get into writing, which is a very rare case about reading books today, because everything is on that computer where you read, and you read loudly using digital medium. As you said, sir, you loved football. You were the captain of your football team, I'm told. You were the captain of your football team.
Yes, I was for a time.
And also, you were into writing. And I've been told that you also wanted to learn tap dancing. So
Now you've caught me in a bind.
So in this discussion today, we had polymaths where multifaceted. A lot of people are doing a lot of things and combining together in life. So other than wanting to tap dance and being the football captain and writing, what else was your dream? What else did you want to do? Anything special?
I don't know. Well, I don't have the figure for tap dancing now, and I don't have those tap dancing shoes. But what else did I want to do? When you're in your teens and you think you can do a lot of things, but you discover later on that it's not that easy. And when I finished school and came home, and that at the end of 1950, a long time ago, and my mother said, "Now what are you going to do with yourself, Ruskin?" And I said, "Mom, I think I'm going to be a writer." And she said, "Don't be silly, go and join the army." Now, in those days, actually, 8 out of 10 boys did go into the army. It was the first choice for most of them. But I think had I gone into the army, there'd have been another Beetle Bailey probably. And I think we're certainly better off without me. So I was packed off to England. And I couldn't make a living straight away with my writing. It wasn't that easy. So I did various kinds of jobs. I worked in a travel agency. I worked for 6 months with Thomas Cook and Sons. I was very inexperienced. And I was given in charge of booking people into various hotels. And being still young and innocent, I would get confused between twin beds and double beds, and calls would come from London, book so-and-so into a room with double beds, or somebody else in twin beds, and I was getting all mixed up. And people who'd never slept, married couples who never slept together in the same bed were now being put in one bed. And people who wanted to be together in their own beds were now being put in separate beds, in twin beds. And so I was fired. My job as a travel agent didn't last more than a few months. So I've been fired many times in my life. Then I went. I even worked for a photographic agency and for the Public Works Department in Jersey, in the Channel Island, which meant going around with pay packets to people who were working down in the underground sewage system, which was a very famous sewage system going back to the time of the French Revolution. And even Victor Hugo used it as a background in his novel, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, a couple of 100 years ago. And so I was inspired, obviously, by Victor Hugo, but not by the in the underground sewage system. So there it was, and finally, working at night, managed to finish this first novel of mine, The Room on the Roof, which I'd started a year or two earlier when I was 17. Took me a couple of years to get it published. And as soon as I got an advance, I came straight back to India because I was really homesick for India. I really missed the place I grew up in, my friends, the life I'd led as a boy. And I came back to India in 1955 at a time when it wasn't easy to make a living here as a writer. We had magazines and newspapers, and I wrote for all of them. But book publishers hadn't really come on the scene. Book publishing hadn't taken off, except academic or school books. But general publishing wasn't there. And so that was one reason I had to write so many short stories and articles, which today are coming in collections, because publishing finally came of age in the 1980s. So it's been a very long literary journey, and sometimes there are writers who become successful or famous overnight, but I wasn't one of those. It took me many, many years of industry before I could achieve commerce.
Amazing. What an amazing story. You loved football, you loved writing, you wanted to tap dance. I'm going to ask you a very, very heart-to-heart question. Sir, did you ever fall in love?
I'll give you the answer. Whenever, almost at every literary get-together, I'm asked one question, not this one. I'm asked a question, what do you do when you get writer's block? And my answer to that is fall in love. Because if you fall in love, writer's block will vanish straight away. So I haven't had writer's block for the 150 novels and books that I've published, or fallen in love 150 times. Yes, but a few occasions when writer's block has come along, I've gone out and fallen for someone, and immediately I'm writing poems, stories, romantic tales, and everything falls away. So there you are.
This is just amazing. I really wish, I think at this particular age now, I think I'm going to get into writing. If I'm going to fall in love, I'm sure with words. Generally we talk on radio and we impress. I think I'm going to put it down into writing now and impress. So, they say your dad has been your greatest teacher. In the lineup, what are those things you've learned from Papa?
From Dad?
Yes, which you'll always treasure.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because although I lost my father when I was only 10, I did learn a lot from him. And I wish more fathers would perhaps give the same amount of time and love to their children. Because he was in fact a trained teacher, although when I grew up with him, he was then serving in the RAF. It was World War II, and I was alone with him because for family reasons, and he would go to office in the morning, come back in the evening, and he was an avid stamp collector. So in the evenings, I would help him with his stamps, sorting them, mounting them. And then he would tell me the story behind each stamp of each country, because he collected all of them. So I learned geography and I learned history from the stamps, actually, and what he told me about them. And then we were in New Delhi then, and on his days off, he would take me to all the monuments, the Qutub Minar, the Red Fort, you name it, and Humayun's tomb, everywhere, and tell me the history and the story behind these places and monuments. So I learned history. And I had actually missed school for 1.5 years because of the family breaking up. And then when he finally had to put me in a boarding school in the hills because he was being transferred all over the place, I found I was way ahead of all the other children. So sometimes it's an advantage not to go to school. But you have to at least have a mummy or a daddy who can teach you.
Amazing. When you said it's an advantage not to go to school, all these children were smiling.
Oh,
out
they'd
there.
love it, wouldn't they?
Sir, they say when an author writes, you'll write in an amazing frame of mind. So where do you write? How do you write? And are the hills of Mussoorie so beautiful, so serenade, so romantic, so to the heart that you churn out some amazing books, sir?
So it's not just the place where you live. I think a committed writer, a genuine writer, a real writer should be able to write anywhere. If he lives in a slum, he should still be able to write. If he lives on the top of a mountain, he should be able to write. So I don't think it's the place. I think if writing is in you, and if you're a natural writer, you will write anywhere. But of course, it does help to live in a pleasant place, and I will say that I'm often inspired by the streams and rivers and forests and wildlife around me. And if I was living in Kolkata, I would find other things that inspired me. So it's it's not just the place. It's not just the song, it's the singer. And what was the rest of the question, sir?
What I'm just saying is, not just the place, but where do you love to write?
Oh, where do I write? Yeah, I write at, I have a very small room, but it has a window. And a window is all important, not just for a writer, but I'd say for anybody. You must live in a room with a window, so you can look out at the clouds, the sky, the road below, the people moving around. You'll never get bored. And my desk is close to the window, so I sit there and with a pad and a ballpoint pen. I still write by hand. I've always written by hand. And I sit on my bed and not on a chair, because as soon as I get drowsy, I just topple over onto the bed and have a nice sleep. So I'm a good sleeper. Maybe I have a clear conscience, I don't know why, but if I lie down, I fall asleep. But I dream too. And a lot of our stories and writing comes from dreams. And I even have the habit sometimes of first thing in the morning noting down a dream or what you remember of it, because you forget most of your dreams. And that in itself helps me start the day. Start with a dream and then move on to reality.
Amazing. I'm just curious, if Mr. Bond wasn't a writer, what would Mr. Bond be?
What would I be if I wasn't a writer? Can't think of it. I know what I'd be. Maybe I'd be a librarian, nice to be amongst books. Or I'd be a forest guard, nice to be in the forest, protecting animals and living amongst the trees in the jungle. So these things have just occurred to me because of your question. I hadn't thought of it before. So there are two things I can be.
Forester?
A forest guard or a librarian.
But generally forest guards, I heard, trot around with guns. So you think you would have managed that?
But no, my gun is to protect the animals. I might just shoot the wrong person though.
Amazing, amazing. You have written such amazing books, coming from within. In this long history of amazing writing, what is that one thing you would never forget, or it will always be in your memory when you look back and say, this is that one thing I can never forget? Is there any one thing in this beautiful journey of yours you can never forget?
Oh, I guess there's so many things, but I'm trying to focus on on one thing that I can never forget. Let me see.
You can give us a couple of things you'll never forget. No problem. You can add on a multitude to that.
Well, there are little things which maybe aren't so little, but I remember when I was 10 or 11, standing on a wooden bridge over a very fierce rushing stream, leaning on the wooden railings at the side, and the railing gave way, and I was just there balanced, in precariously on the edge. But I stepped back, and if I hadn't stepped back, I'd probably have drowned. So.
You're serious? Were you, that time, were you scared? Or did you do a little bit of martial arts and step back?
Well, it was instinctive, but I was scared afterwards, yes, when I looked down and saw.
So this fear and this memory, somewhere or another, did you pen it down in a story of yours?
Well, it's give me a maybe, no, actually I haven't, but it's perhaps, it's been at the bottom of perhaps a sense of insecurity. We were talking of dreams now, and there are two dreams that constantly recur. There's one, I'm in a forest rest house alone, and I look out of the window, and there's this huge tiger out in the open, and it's approaching the rest house. And I quickly shut the window, and then I notice the door's open. I run to the door, shut it. I look out of another window, the tiger's come closer. The tiger is circling the house, coming closer all the time, and I'm running around shutting windows. Until finally, thud, 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 it's trying to break down the door. And just as it crashes through, I wake up, fortunately, just in time.
And did that dream come into a story of yours?
Well, that one it did.
Okay.
And a similar dream is when I'm staying in a big hotel like the Hyatt here, on my own, and somebody is going to come and pay the bill for me. A publisher, hopefully, maybe the Chamber of Commerce. And the days pass one by one, and I'm in this luxurious room eating beautiful meals, but nobody's turning up to pay the bill, and weeks pass, and I don't know now what am I to do? How do I get out of here? Because I certainly didn't have the money for it. And then just as the bill is being presented, I wake up. Thank goodness.
I hope that came into a story also. So your publishers would have loved it.
Well, it's in my dream book.
Sir, there are a lot of children who love you, who swear by you, including my son. Today, I'm sure this is also going on Facebook Live. There are millions of people watching you. There are a lot of children out here. There are a lot of educationists out here. What would you like to share with them? Because life is like a bar graph which goes up and down. There are the good times, there are the bad times. You've been through every moment in life. You've thought, you've dreamt, you've had the good moments, you've had the bad moments. So what has made you so consistent, so persistent, and so amazing all through? Never kind of wavering from what you are doing. What has got you that aggression?
Maybe just a stubborn element in my nature, because there have been, over the years, setbacks and difficult times, one way or the other. But maybe a commitment to my vocation or art, which is writing, and the fact that I know that this is the thing I do best, and I'm not going to succeed very well with anything else. So I've stuck with it, and it's paid off in the long run. So I would always advise young people or children if to follow your dream, and if there's something you really want to do, and if you're good at it, stick to it. Don't give up easily. And in the end, you will succeed.
Absolutely. Love what you do and do what you love, and you'll have to succeed. There's no one can stop you from succeeding. This has been truly amazing. On this beautiful evening, As we said, we had a beautiful education conference today. And finally, or should we ask a couple of more questions? Audience, what do you feel? You all are very quiet. Could we have an Eden Gardens kind of roar here a little bit? Okay.
Well, KR isn't doing too well, so maybe that's why there's a hush.
Okay. We will keep it as two more questions, sir. One thing I would like to ask you is right now, in this beautiful place, lovely, magnificent hotel, if we were not doing Adda, or if we were not talking, what would you like to do?
What would I like to do?
Yeah.
What would I like to do? Would sit and have a drink with you.
Well, that's nice. And just another question was, did you ever live your dream of tap dancing?
Did I ever?
Live your dream of tap
No.
dancing?
No, people don't allow me to. They'll put up with the tap dancing, but they don't allow me to sing, I can assure you. Because when I have a terrible singing voice, if I get into somebody's car and burst into song, there's an accident, the car breaks down, the door falls off. So friends don't allow me to sing. And even when I was at school, my choir mistress thought I looked very cute in a cassock and surplice. So I was put in the school choir, but I was always told, open your mouth with everyone, Bond, but don't let any sound issue forth. But I took my revenge one day at a very important service and let out a bellow in the middle of the hymn. And after that, I was taken out of the choir and banished forever.
It's been amazing, you know. I'm just curious about one thing. I'm going to ask Mr. Bond this question. You're in a nightclub. You're in a discotheque. Yes? And here you are standing and sipping your drink, and this gorgeous, most beautiful lady says, Mr. Bond, I'm a wonderful fan of yours. I'm a very big fan of yours. Can we have a dance? What would you do?
I'd tell her, I'd love to dance with you, provided you don't mind my stepping on your toes.
No, you know, have you ever thought, sir, you're so beautiful with words, with so much of the tinge of humor. Have you ever thought of taking up stand-up comedy?
I'd love to, but basically I'm very shy and self-conscious. So it takes somebody like you to get me to talk or to be free.
You're wonderful.
So we'd have to be Laurel and Hardy, and not.
No, I think I'm getting
I'm
into
not
the
single
Hardy mode
comedian.
also. There are, you know, a lot of children here today. And before we get on, I'm sure a lot of people have a lot of questions to ask. What message, sir, would you like to give to the members of the education wing of the Bengal Chamber of Commerce who are here with amazing people in education striving to make a difference and to take education to the highest of level? Because I think it's never the end. There's always improvement, even however good you are. So what message would you like to give to everyone?
Well, you're already doing so much for education, and I would urge you to keep doing it because there's no nobler task. And over the years, I've seen education spread across India from I've seen in a way, the middle class grow from a very small entity into a huge one, and that has brought about a tremendous increase in schools and in educational institutions. But at the same time, many have been left behind in rural areas, in villages. Children have been left behind, and perhaps those are the ones maybe we should direct our energies towards in the field of education, so that they can also have the same opportunities that those of us who are better off enjoy. And so then you sit down and write a poem or a story or an essay. So it's maybe that's what makes a writer, the fact that he or she can, in a way, make use of the emotional content of your living, the things that happen to you in mind and heart.
So, thank you so much. Have a seat. Anybody else? The gentleman waving out. Yes, straight down there. We have a lot of questions coming your way, sir. But we'll take just one more after this. Okay, we'll take two more after this. The mic. The mic.
Hello, good evening. Sir, my simple question is, sir, Mr. Bond,
Yeah.
what is the source of your untiring energy and sense of humor?
What is
And
this?
I-
One second. What is the source of your untiring energy and your amazing sense of humor?
And before that, I want to say two lines for you. You are 85, and I wish you make 100. And I want to say, मुस्कुराती रहे सदा आपकी आंखें, इसका जादू कभी कम ना होने पाए. आप सलामत रहे क़यामत तक, और खुदा करे क़यामत कभी होने ना पाए.
Thank you. I have enjoyed life and hope to continue to do so a little longer. And as far as the secret of my energy goes, I'm a very lazy person. As I told you, I'm a great sleeper. And sometimes I have to force myself to work and then give myself a kick in a way. So it's not that I'm particularly energetic, it's just that maybe I have a bad conscience and I feel it's time I got to work, you know. So, and also, well, some talents we are born with, and I think it would be wrong if we did not make use of them. So if someone has a talent to sing, he or she should become a singer and give joy to others, or a talent to play cricket, or a talent to write. You must use it and give it to the world.
Amazing. The lady in the green. Yes, and after that we have one question at the back.
Hello.
Oh, you, where? Oh, okay, the gentleman. Okay, sorry. Ma'am, sit. He'll ask you a question after which you'll ask. There's so much of light. I'm sorry, I can't really. Yeah, please. Please, sir.
Yeah, I'm very tempting to know and your interaction with Nayantara Sehgal.
My interaction with?
Nayantara Sehgal.
No, Nayantara Sehgal is a far senior writer to me. She's been around longer, well into her 90s. I've only met her 2 or 3 times, so I can't say that I've, and briefly too, usually on formal occasions. So I've never really had the opportunity to get to know her or to interact with her or to talk about books or literature. But I respect her as a writer and as a senior one. And maybe I can one day meet her and get to know her better.
Thank you so much. Ma'am, oops. You have all the children also eager to ask you.
You spoke about spanking, being spanked. I think all of us, our generation has been spanked, but right now there is that anti-spanking, and we as Early Childhood Association, we are also into anti-spanking. So what are your thoughts on this?
You see, previously all of us used to get caned or spanked, but now today, because of situation and circumstances, you're not allowed to cane, you're not allowed to spank because it's kind of corporal punishment, as one would say. So what are your thoughts on that?
True. Well, I wouldn't. I do think it's a good thing that corporal punishment was thrown out of the window long ago. I can now read books instead of stuffing them down my trousers.
That's wonderful. We have this gentleman from the back. Yes, I'm going to come to you all. We have this gentleman from the back. Poor fellow's been raising his hand for quite some time. Right at the back. If yes. He's just getting the mic to you. Oops. How much time do we have? Another 5 minutes? Okay, thank you.
You state Kasauli and Masoudi. which plays really help you, motivate you for writing?
Which place?
Which place?
Kasauli and Mussoorie.
You stayed in Kasauli as well as Mussoorie. So which place motivated you more?
Well, Kasauli was the place where I was born, and we left when I was about 5 or 6 months old. So, and I never went there again except for one day, I think, a few years back. So it definitely Kasauli did not motivate me, or although it is a pretty hill station and it's similar to many others. So I would think that I lived in Delhi in the 1960s, again doing odd things, and I wanted to escape. Somehow I wasn't doing much, any very good work in Delhi from the writing point of view. And I then decided I'd go up and live in the hills. But also being a practical sort of person, I didn't want to be too far from publishers and editors and people in the publishing world. So for that reason, in a way, I chose Mussoorie because you could get there within 7 or 8 hours. So in a way, I have for many years commuted between the two places. So though I love the mountains and the hills and living there, I'm still a very practical person, because you will not survive for long as a writer if you do not have at least a certain amount of pragmatism in your nature.
Thank you.
How do you write stories so fast?
What is,
How do you write stories so fast?
that's a very good question, huh? Because once I start writing, I do go quite fast. You know, the important thing is to start. So if you get a good start, writing a story, or in school if you're doing your essay or answering a question, the important thing is to get a good start. And once you've got that, you can go pretty fast along. And so always remember, the start is important.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, last question to the lady. Bas, that's it. Oh, both of you all can answer. Yeah, I don't want to say no to you then. Fast. Ask the question fast.
Hello, sir. My question is that what motivates you to write stories?
What motivates me to write stories? Well, I can write other things too, and I do sometimes. I even write income tax returns. but they're not fiction, I assure you. So you can write, I meet many girls who like writing poems, poetry, and boys like writing adventure stories. So there's no reason why you shouldn't also write. You'll find give it a try, and you'll find it's not so hard.
In fact, I met them, both of them love you. You wanted to ask a question? Okay, the last question coming up for the day. Thank you so much.
What is the longest time you took to write one story?
Well, there you are. So sometimes he thought I write fast, and you think I take a long time. The longest time I took to write a story was when I tried writing a very long novel once, and I didn't even finish it, come to think of it. I got writer's block, and I did not have the solution to it.
And you fell in love, right?
I did not. I fell in love, but there was no reciprocation, so I couldn't continue.
You know, there's a saying, "Ek haath se tali bajta nahi hai, do haath se bajta hai." But you know, sir, it's been so wonderful talking to you, and you opened up your heart.
Thank you for your great questions, for leading me on.
No, but sir, you're such an amazing human being. I want to give you a tight hug. Seriously.
Hugs are in fashion nowadays.
No, but ladies and gentlemen, I think Mr. Bond deserves a standing ovation. He's been so amazing, so
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
so outspoken, sir. It's really been a pleasure to have you with us here tonight. And now, of course,
you all.
the mic. Do we need to sit or stand?
You can sit. I mean, it's just going to take 30
Oh.
seconds just to thank you all.
Sir was saying he wants a tap dance. Tell me one thing: have you ever tried it? How do you do it? Oh, the shoes. You want to give it a try without the special shoes now? Please have a seat. Please have a seat, sir.
Sir's inspiration must have been Fred Astaire. Fred Astaire must have been one of your inspirations for tap dancing. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a day of learning and an evening of magic and memories. And what more can we say? We are the Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industries, 186 years old. Soon we'll be 200, but these evenings come very rare. We are absolutely humbled to be able to present this year's Education Conclave in the presence of legends like Mr. Ruskin Bond, Dr. Sudha Kaul, and Srimati Alaknanda Roy. We are absolutely thrilled that the day started with learning about polymaths and what we as a Chamber of Commerce should be doing and should be engaging more in as far as our education initiatives are concerned. But it morphed into something absolutely, absolutely magical. I'll just take a few more seconds to thank everyone, all of you for being with us, the children, the younger generation, and of course, I think Biplab said a little while back that it's very important to dream. And he, quoted Martin Luther King Jr. and, of course, while he was introducing Dr. Kaul to us and her work. And I think we will keep on dreaming. We will keep on, thinking big. And with all your love, blessings, goodwill, support, we think that we will try and serve you better for a few more years. We are deeply humble, thankful, and we are absolutely thrilled to be able to close this year's Education Conclave in the presence of, again, such legends. And before the evening ends, there's refreshments around the corner. And the speakers and senior guests are requested to gather at Topaz. Thank you very much. We'll see you next year. Thank you.